fourth REM media briefing. Today's meeting was an extraordinary emergency meeting convened to deal with just some specific problems, not problems, issues relating to the management of our national response with regards to evolving global issues. So my sincere apology to you and to Nigerians that have been expecting us to speak to them. However, I truly welcome you to the national briefing of the Presidential Steering Committee on COVID-19 for 13th October 2021. Today's briefing, coming after an emergency meeting, will update Nigerians on some key developments. The briefing today will therefore be focusing on updates from the Nigerian Center for Disease Control, countries on the restriction list, our relationship with the United Arab Emirates on Emirates flights and vaccine mandate. Statistics generated over the last 4 weeks on testing have shown that the trend of infection is going down in some states, while in others, the trajectory is upward. The combined total for testing by PCR and RDT now stands at 3,141,795 persons. The aviation authorities, in collaboration with the diplomatic sector, have made reasonable progress in collaboration with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Discussions are still ongoing with the UAE authorities to resolve the impasse. The Honorable Minister of Aviation today presented the position of African countries on vaccine passport, which some economic blocs and countries wish to impose for travel purposes. We see a growing tendency of demands that will be placed, and I've said it here oftentimes, that there will come a time when you cannot go anywhere except if you are vaccinated. And we are getting to that. The African countries, through our Minister of Aviation today, had to make a statement to the ICAO with regards to these restrictions that are evolving. And the simple reason being that African countries have found it difficult to access the vaccines for their citizens in sufficient number. Our problems are being compounded on a daily basis. Restrictions will be placed for travels and access into other places, while the distribution of vaccines is not equitable. You've heard our president speak on that severally. Even his address to the United Nations dwelt on that. His address to the National Assembly on the presentation of budget touched on that. Out of the 6.5 billion vaccines that have so far been produced, what percentage of that has come to Africa? In some countries, particularly the developed world, they've been able to ramp up their vaccination to cover over 80% of their eligible population. On the entire African continent, we have not vaccinated 5% of the eligible population. So to begin to impose these restrictions means that we're being caged. And our Minister for Aviation was, I think, delegated by the other ministers of aviation for the African continent to speak today. So he had to make a statement on behalf of the African countries. Over several months, 4 countries were placed on high-level restriction for travelers from such countries. The Presidential Steering Committee has, after a review of the development in these countries, decided to remove further South Africa, Turkey, and Brazil from the restricted list. you remember, we had taken off India initially from this list. But looking at what is happening globally and the rate at which these countries are able to curb the rates of infections in their countries, we have decided today, as part of the decisions of the emergency meeting, to take South Africa, Turkey, and Brazil off the restricted list. As you are aware, the United Kingdom has eased restrictions on fully vaccinated travelers from Nigeria to the UK, with effect from 11th October 2021. Nigeria welcomes this development and assures that the Presidential Steering Committee shall continue to review Nigeria's protocol based on global developments, science, and national experience. A revised protocol will therefore be issued in full in the next 24 hours. We had looked at it, we had taken comments, we've looked at the science, we have looked at the facts available, and we have reconstructed a new revised protocol that will come or will be issued in the next 24 hours. By the time we bring finality to the content and context of the protocol. With effect from 1st December 2021, all federal government employees shall be required, all without exception, shall be required to show proof of COVID-19 vaccination or present a negative COVID-19 PCR test result done within 72 hours to gain access to their places of work in all locations within Nigeria and in our missions. An appropriate service-wide advisory / circular will be issued to guide the process. This decision has been taken, but we would also complement the decision with appropriate guidance issued by way of service-wide advisories and circular. The Presidential Steering Committee wishes to put Nigerians on notice that two major religious festivities, the Salah and the Christmas, are approaching, and we should be experiencing increased passenger traffic in and out of the country. Similarly, events of large gatherings are likely to halt. While the PSC prepares to escalate surveillance and other control activities, we urge the states and all Nigerians to also increase their vigilance and take measure to moderate their activities. Yes, our management has been credited with a lot of success. We have been adjudged as one country that has been proactive in placing protocols that have been able to tame the level of community transmission of COVID-19, but we cannot lower our guards at this moment. It is very, very expedient that we take every necessary precaution, because this virus is not likely to disappear very soon. And the only thing that we can do is to continue to enforce and appeal for compliance with the non-pharmaceutical interventions that have been the major safeguard for our people. That is the wearing of face mask, maintaining social distancing, and the sanitizing of hands or any form of hygiene by washing of hands, and the avoidance of mass gatherings whenever it is possible to do that. And in addition to that, as the festivities begin, if you do not have to travel, please don't travel. So we have to up the level of our perception of the risk attendant to COVID-19. It's been established that being fully vaccinated does not absolve you of getting infected. Fully vaccinated persons have gotten infected because probably in the process they lowered their guard and felt that because I've received 2 jabs, I can afford to lower my perception of the risk. Talk less of those that are partially or totally unvaccinated. They remain very vulnerable. And for us to create a safe working environment, we believe strongly that we need to begin to place measures that will help reduce the frequency and the numbers of those that can likely get infected with this virus, get badly sick, and could eventually result in fatalities. That is not our prayer, but COVID-19 has demonstrated capacity for mutation, capacity for spread of infection through new undetermined variants like we have seen in the course of our national response. So my appeal to Nigerians is that let's not lower our guards at this moment. Let's heighten our surveillance and our risk perception. And we have sufficient vaccines available now. So there is no vaccine shortage. I believe that anybody that wants to be vaccinated can access vaccine through the medical facilities that have been charged with the responsibility of vaccinating our people. We have given the latitude of a timeline of 1st December because the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency has already in place processes that agencies of government and offices can take advantage of. Go to their website. Part of it has been dedicated to registering the numbers of the people that you want to see vaccinated in your agencies. We are starting with the people that fall directly under the employment of the federal government. And we see how far we go with that. But from what you can see happening globally now, and from the reaction of our Minister of Aviation to what countries and bloc of nations are trying to in place, it means that eventually you will not be able to travel the world if you do not show evidence of being fully vaccinated. Can you imagine in our lifetime, we've had 2 years consecutively that we've not been able, Nigerians as religious as they are, have not been able to go for Hajj in Saudi and also to Jerusalem for the Christian folks. All as a result of COVID-19 and the restrictions that these countries have put in place. I've taken the time to explain to you why some of these decisions have become very obvious. And the earlier we begin to deal with it, the better. Now that we have sufficient vaccines available, I urge all Nigerians to approach the health facilities and get themselves vaccinated and not be bogged down by very misinformed theories and conspiracies that would deny our people the benefit that vaccines will avail them. I thank you for your patience, particularly tonight, and the Presidential Steering Committee would be elaborating more on these issues at our next regular meeting. Thank you, and God bless you.
We thank you very sincerely, the Chairman of PSC and Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa. So 1st of December 2021 is it for all federal workers to be vaccinated. We've taken note of that. Well, colleagues, as you heard, this is an extraordinary meeting of PSC. We do not want to dilute this message that the chairman has provided. We want to give some time for this information to circulate, and we trust that as you are here, you will disseminate this information appropriately. Till we meet shortly in the next session of PSC, may we have for yourself a very good night.
NTA, you can't beat the rich.
There's just something about speed and simplicity, but that's into the back of a truck at 80 miles per hour. His final text world over, surpassing even drinking and driving. But if you think dying in a car crash is the worst thing that happened to you, I tell you it is not. You can survive after you've killed someone else. Imagine spending the rest of your life knowing you killed someone just because of a text message. Now imagine going to jail just because of text message. Found guilty of texting while driving. But you can make a difference, just like so many young people have vowed not to text and drive. Leave your cell phone alone while driving. If you must send a text message, pull off the road into a parking lot or anywhere that is safe. No text is